Hi again, Sheila with Creative Aging. We are going to continue playing with jewelry making using Sculpey polymer clay and Pearl X pigments and some things around your house that can be tools. Since I know everybody doesn't have a lot of clay tools at their facilities, we're going to try to figure out things that can work and get some good texture in the jewelry. Now this is pretty big. I made it a little bit big so you can see it better. Feel free to adjust it to the size of what you will wear, and you can always change the shape. And since I know everybody doesn't have a rolling pin, so I really wanted to just use our hands today, but if you have a clay rolling pin, which looks like this, if you have this and you want to use it, then feel free. Same with clay tools. Anybody that has extra clay tools, you're welcome to bring those out and use them. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody can do this, and so I'm using just things around the house. And so you're going to need your white Sculpey polymer clay, and hopefully every facility still has some left. If you need any more, please text me, let me know. I can deliver it as soon as you text me. I will be there, so it's no problem at all. So you're gonna need your clay, you're gonna need your pencil, make sure there's a good eraser on it. You need a butter knife, an open paper clip, which we did last time, so this will poke the hole in this top of the necklace. And then a couple dry brushes for your pigments. So we've got the silver and gold pigment. Okay, and then you'll need a paper plate and a toaster oven or an oven that you can use to bake these in. And that's about it. And then of course string or chain or cord or whatever you want to put to wear this. And this of course can be an ornament as well, if you would rather make a Christmas ornament or something like that. But I know everybody was asking me for jewelry, so I'm trying to do quite a few different jewelry lessons in a row while people still have these clay and pigment supplies. All right, let's get started. So as always, warm up your clay. And then we're going to use our hands to flatten. And you can do that. Now I wanted a teardrop shape. Now of course you can do whatever shape you want. Completely up to you. But if you wanted to do a teardrop, then that's what we're gonna do right now. So go ahead and flatten it with your hand. And we're gonna do a lot of texture on this, so it's okay if it's not perfectly flat. So most of this will be covered up, but try to get it as flat as you can with your hand so that it's just a little bit even, that there's not huge lumps in it. And then, be mindful. See how I'm flipping it? I'm making sure it's not getting stuck. As you use your hand, especially, some people have really hot hands, so their clay will be warmed up pretty fast. I'm one of those cold people. I'm always cold, so my hands aren't actually that hot, and so I can do a lot more with it and it doesn't get too sticky. But if your hands are really hot, you might be more mindful of pressing and giving it kind of breaks to cool down. So this is a pretty good thickness. If you want it a little thinner, you can go around and use your fingers. Be careful of your fingernails, of course. And then once you get it the thickness you want, we're going to cut it down. Now, if you like the shape, you could go with it if you wanted, but I just wanted you to practice cutting with a butter knife. This is, of course, not my tool of choice. Clay tools with a good blade. This is so much easier, and I love cutting with these tools, but not everyone has this. But if you have this, go ahead and use your blade. But most people have a butter knife, so we're going to try it out. And go ahead and just figure out where you want it to be cut. And then, you know, slow. Now be slow, be mindful. And you're just cutting the edge off. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And then do the same thing on this side. And if you want it to kind of be off center, or if you like a teardrop that's a little more curved, you can do that. So do you see how I'm using one finger, because this is going to move while you're cutting. So I use one finger to kind of hold this side so the whole thing doesn't move. So I have more control. So I'm just barely pushing on the side, and as I move my knife, I move my finger to give it a little bit more support, and that's why I'm doing slow as well. So see right there, see how it just moves itself and it's not cutting? You really do need to hold it down. Obviously that does not look good. We're going to cut that edge off. Now if you have a blade tool, you don't have this problem. But the butter knife is just a little more tricky, and you have to do a few more marks or a few more cuts, whereas the blade, you could probably just do it as one long continuous movement. But it's okay. This actually still works, and it forces you to smooth out your edges. So here's a teardrop. See how the edges are not like perfect. We're going to smooth that out. So I'm just going to go around the side. And use my finger to just smooth where any roughness from the knife happened, or any little bubbles or little divots. This will just make sure that it looks really clean and polished. You don't want to wear your jewelry and necessarily have people know that it was homemade. You might as well try to make it as professional looking as possible, so when they find out you made it, they're going to be so impressed. Not many people do this type of jewelry making, so it's not a lot of polymer clay jewelry with pigments around. Okay, so that looks good, and you can even figure out which side you like. And at this point, we are going to use our pencil in a little bit of a different way. So in the past, we have drawn into it. So the last project we drew into it and kind of did our own design with the point, and then we used the eraser to push circles into it. Okay, so we've done that before. We did the same thing when we did our peacock. And so these videos should be up. You can look at these if you wanted to go backwards and do these as well. So this is more practicing with the drawing of the pencil. This time, I just want to use the pencil in a new way. So we're going to use this part of the pencil. We're just going to push into it and see how many flat edges there are. So once we roll into the clay, it's going to create kind of a cool, just a few cool like little texture and lines. And so you can go wherever you want. You know, if you wanted to maybe go this way. So say I'm going to gently push down, okay? And then I want you to roll your pencil just a little bit back and forth, and we're going to get a good line. And I am going to tell you, I've used this pencil quite a bit, and it's got clay on it, and that's not the best thing. I probably should have got a new pencil. So if your pencil has clay on it from the last project, scrape it off, because that can make it sticky and change the texture a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to do that again down here. Move it around. Okay. Let me show you how that looks. And when we put the pigment on it, these marks are going to come out a lot more. So it's not as drastic right now, but the pigments and the shimmer, metallic, will bring it out. And so I'll do another line. And you know what? I'm gonna do it a little differently. I might go at a kind of a diagonal. So think about where you want these to be placed, because it can be exact stripes. It can kind of be at angles if you want it to be a little more, you know, off balance. Just depends. There we go. And then I'm going to go across this way. So push down, same thing, push down. Just move it gently, right and left, back and forth. Do the same thing somewhere down here. And, you know, maybe I'll make this one thinner, and so I won't move it as much. I'll just push down. So I'm not going to move it, just so I have a few different sizes of this. And then some of the marks, I want to maybe use my pencil and bring out a little bit more. So maybe right here, I'm just going to take my pencil and lightly go along and just add just another layer of texture and interest. I'm going to do another one right there. See how slow I'm going? I really want you to get used to being very slow and patient with clay, because every mark is going to matter. You do not want to rush. Okay, so hopefully you can see that okay. I'm going to turn it so you can see how deep I'm pushing, which is quite a bit. And then, so after you get this, kind of look at it, see about extra marks. Now right there, I'm not sure if you can see it right there. I don't like this part. There's just a little deeper chunk that doesn't look as even. So I'm going to cover it up by using my pencil again and drawing into the clay. So any mistake that you made, you can make it look like it's done on purpose. See what I just did with my pencil? So I just dragged my pencil, I drew it from here all the way across, and see there's one little sharp line, and it looks good. It looks natural. I mean, it looks like you used some special texture, you know, something you push down to do this. It doesn't look like you're using the sides of the pencil and the point of a pencil. I think it ends up looking really cool. So just keep playing with your design until you really like what you see. And once you like it, I want you to again look at the edges, make sure they're smooth, make sure there are no pencil fingernail marks, or in my case, dog hair. I don't know if you can see, there's a dog hair that floated into mine, so I'm going to pull that out. You really don't, it got stuck in the clay. I have a white dog. So yeah, just make sure everything looks good, turn it. And if there's any part you don't like, figure out how to fix it or cover it up or make it part of the design. So make it look like it's done on purpose. And then once I like my shape, I'm going to use my paper clip, figure out where you want your hole, and make sure that paper clip has an end that's really clean, and then push it through. So about right there, I'm going to hold the clay and I'm going to push it all the way back, and once it goes through, I'm going to move it in a circle so that it just widens it a little bit. So I'm going to have more room for the string or cord, because I'm not sure what you're going to have at your place or home or facility. So think about whatever kind of chain or cord or whatever you're going to use, you know, elastic, and that's how big you'll want your hole. And see on the back, you want to scrape that away. Just cleans it up a little bit. And if you lay it flat, then it won't squish together. That's happened a lot. Once you put it in the oven, if this has a lip on it, once you put it on the oven and it's baking, it might close your hole back up and it's really hard to fix if you don't have a little clay drill. It is really hard to fix, so you do not want that to happen. So just, I like to go behind and do the same thing with my paper clip just to make sure, and then I do it again in the front. And I know people that work with Lee and I every week or every other week. I know you guys are used to us doing these holes for you, so you didn't probably know that there's so many little particulars on how they might close up or how big they are, the placement. So honestly, this is good. Kind of forces you to think about where you're going to place it and how to make sure it doesn't close up. All right, so that's good. Now let's get our paper plate. I've already got gold pigment. I'm gonna get a little silver. You don't need a lot, so I'm just going to lightly tap this to where a little bit gets on my plate. That's probably good right there. So see, I didn't use a ton. And take your brushes and keep those separate. So one brush for the silver and one brush for the gold. And, you know, let's see. I'm going to do the silver first because it's lighter. So figure out where you want the silver. I'm going to make this one a little different than my other example. So maybe I'll do the opposite, where I'll do the silver on the outside edges. So just tap your brush. Actually, no, I'm going to do every other square silver. So maybe I'll do this. This would be good. I'm going to do this one silver. And you can, you know, paint it just like paint. In certain places, you're going to want to kind of tap it to get into deeper grooves. And if you mix this silver and the gold together, if you use a tiny bit of gold and a little bit more of silver, you can make a rose gold. So if you want to mix kind of a different shade, you can. So just be mindful, and if you want, you know, if you want to do the whole thing gold, you can do that too. I'm just trying to give you some options and show you a few things so you can play with it and make it your own. You guys are wearing it, not me. So you just make it whatever you think would be pretty on your neck and match maybe your fashion style. And if you want to make these into a little ornament or just something to hang in your house, you know, you can do that too. So I don't really know. Honestly, I don't even know. I'm just kind of playing right now. I didn't have an idea of what I was going to do for the colors. So we'll see how this looks. And make sure to get your sides. So if you know, while you're doing this, if you want the sides right here and you know what you want them silver, you can lift your plate up and do the sides. Okay, so I'm going to switch brushes and I'm going to use my gold, and I know I want the grooves to be gold. So I'm going to do that, and I'm just going to tap it because there's some deeper parts in here. So I want that to be gold for sure. So just go in there and kind of tap it to where the powder goes all the way down, and then you can paint it. So tap and then paint is a good way to do this. So right here, same thing, and just tapping all the way down so it gets really into those deep grooves that I made with my pencil. Right here. And I know this powder is different to paint with because you can't really get it exact because sometimes the powder will just move on its own. If you sneeze or if you cough, this powder is going to go everywhere. And if you get your gold on top of the silver, you can't really get rid of it. This silver is pretty light. So I know it's not exact and it's different, but just figure out how to make it work for you. And it's just a new medium to kind of play with. I mean, honestly, before a couple years ago, I'd never painted with pigments, so I know I'm still getting used to it. And it's weird because I'm a perfectionist and I like exact things. So for me not to sometimes get the exact line I want it's uncomfortable. But I also figure it's probably good for me to be uncomfortable sometimes. All right, in a minute I'm going to hold this up and then we're going to figure out if I want to add more silver on top of any of this, which I know I do. So this is how it's looking. I kind of personally like the other one I did better. So that one I just did all gold, all silver, all gold. And so I might add some more silver and kind of do, I don't really love this. I think it's harsh. So I don't want it to be like this. I'm gonna go and paint that whole center one gold. I think that's gonna make a difference. There's just, it looks chaotic to me, but you guys might like it. I don't know. I just think there's something wrong with, there were too many lines, so I want to tone it down. So this is why you sometimes need to stop and take little breaks and figure out what you don't like so you can fix it while you're working. Okay. And I'm going to go back to my silver. I'm going to add a little more silver. Now this silver sometimes, you need a second coat because it can lose its shimmer. So I'm going to do a little bit more right here. I'm just going to tap it, add another layer, and it starts shimmering immediately. And I'm going into some of this gold. I'm just going to tone that down a little bit. Okay, and then I think I'm going to do this gold. I'm going to do this silver. I'm going to go over it just to show you how the silver and gold mix together. So right there, I know it's not going to make the gold disappear, but it can kind of tone it down and make it look like a rose gold. So if you did think that some of the gold got too bright, you can go over it with your silver and just soften it a little bit. It won't for sure cover it, but you can soften it. Okay, so that's how it's looking now. And if you still think it's too much, then maybe add more. If you wanted like a design of gold, we can go in and add a little more gold right there to make it look like it's going all the way across. So that's going to be lighter because it's mixing with the silver. And I'm going to go back to my silver and I'm going to add just a little bit more sparkle right here. So sometimes it just needs a little more sparkle at the end. Okay, so I'm going to go bake. I'm going to go bake this for about 11 minutes at 275. Make sure your edges are done. You don't have to necessarily do the back of it. It's up to you. But make sure your edges are done for sure. Go bake it at 275 for 11 minutes. And then once it's out, you're going to decide what kind of string. So you can use, there are lots of options. If you wanted to, say you want to just use something you have around, this is just like some white string. You could even, if you say you like teal blue, I mean, you don't have to do something like typical. You can make it your own, So I love teal blue. So let's look at how this would look. And I'm just going to show you a few different things we can do. So if you want to not use a jump ring, which is these little guys right here. So if you do not have these, I'm going to show you how to use your string to where you can make this centered on your neck or as an ornament. So see how I cut this in half, or I looped it in half to where both of my ends are together right here. And I'm going to put both of these ends through my hole and then pull it halfway through. Then see what I have right here? I'm going to put this side through this loop and take your fingers, go all the way up. See what it's doing? And this is exactly how you do it if you're going to make an ornament, or if you wanted to use elastic doing this. And then that way it's going to stay, it's centered. Because if you just put your string in it, it sometimes moves kind of to the side, and this way it lays flat on your neck. And then you would double knot the top of this. So you could do that. Or I will show you a couple other things. You can just put it right through. If you have, so this is a white one, it's a little thicker. So this is elastic. If you have elastic, you can just slip that through and then double knot it at the end, and then just let it hang. Okay, and so you would just go all the way through, double knot it. So you can just, you know, put it in. And then the only bad thing about this is when you double knot it, see how it's hanging, but it could turn a little bit. So that's why the other technique is good, because it forces it to be in the center. The best thing is to use a jump ring. And these are really cheap, and most people have a ton of these, and so they go a long way. You know, a little bag of 50 is probably a couple bucks. So you could definitely do this, and this is the best thing to do because you can always use this jump ring, and you can change what kind of necklace you want your thing on. So open your jump ring and then close it. Make sure it's perfectly closed back together, because whatever chain or string you put on it, you don't want it to slip off, and you don't want this to fall to the ground. So this is the best thing. So there's your jump ring, and then at this point you can use whatever kind of silver chain in your room, gold chain. If you have cord, you know, you can use that. You know, here's a silver one. So if I wanted to just put that through, double knot it at the bottom, and then it just hangs perfectly. So the jump ring makes it, you know, hang centered and flat. So this is the best thing, probably. I just wanted to give you options, and especially if you're going to make it an ornament, the other two things work great. All right, and then you'll be done. Make sure when it comes out of the oven, don't touch it, just let it cool. Maybe take it, put it on a cookie sheet covered with foil. You don't really want your powder and the clay to be on a cookie sheet you're going to bake on. So I really prefer you to cover it with foil. Then take it out of the oven, let it cool all the way before you start putting jump rings in it. Because as it's cooling, if you put a jump ring in it, it's going to crack your clay. But once it's cool all the way, it's perfectly fine. It will not crack. Okay? I hope you enjoy. Let me show you this other one up close real quick. So definitely, you know, make it your own design and use the silver and the gold however you'd like. And have fun. Most importantly, have lots of fun. Bye.